Hey, I'm Courtney Waterman, your tutor. Lover of anime, manga, and math. And you just tuned into another session of Tutor Me Sempai.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we're jumping into a 7th grade topic, dividing factorials. Now, if you're new to my channel, I'll be putting time codes in for this video in the description box below. So use that to skip ahead to whatever part of the video you think is most interesting. As always, if you have any questions about what you see today, or even your own homework, you can always put in the comment box below or visit my Facebook page at Tutor Me Sempai and tell me all about it there. At the end of this video, I'll be linking my 7th grade playlist in which I cover a lot more topics. So if you're interested in that, make sure you stay tuned. This video will have 2 parts, so leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and let's get started. When it comes to dividing your factorials, it all really lies in 2 things: simplification and knowing what a factorial is. Now, if you have no idea what a factorial is, you might not want to jump straight to dividing factorials. So check out my previous video you can find right up here where I talk about what a factorial is. And once you know what that is, come back to this and see how we're going to divide them. But once you have a good idea about what a factorial is, then dividing your factorials really just lies in how well you simplify your factorials. But let me stress this. You don't need to simplify factorials in order to divide. You can still do your division by doing it the long way, expanding everything out and multiplying everything as you would. And you're still going to get the right answer. It's just that simplification makes things simple. But let's see how we're going to do it the long way. We know that 4 factorial is going to be 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And we know that 3 factorial is going to be 3 times 2 times 1. Now, we know 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 is going to be what? 24. If you multiply all that together, you'll get 24. How about 3 times 2 times 1? Well, that's going to be 6. And we know that 24 divided by 6 is 4. So this is not terribly hard. You can do this, and there's really no simplification here. Just outright expand it out, whatever the factorial is, and then simply multiply everything as you would on top and bottom. After you do all that, you no longer have a factorial, you just have a number in your numerator and a number in your denominator that you can simply divide. However, you see the problem with this if you have really big factorials. It's fine when you have simple ones like 4 and 3, but what if you have 10 factorial and 20 factorial, 30 factorial? These bigger numbers are going to be a lot harder for you to just multiply everything across. That's where simplification comes in. So let's re-look at this in a more simple way. Let's take a look at what we have here. We have 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 over 3 times 2 times 1. Well, the first thing we notice is there's a lot of multiplication, right? Everything is connected by multiplication. If that wasn't your first thing may have been the fact that there's a 3 times 2 times 1 in both the top and the bottom. Both of those things are very important because your 3 times 2 times 1 is going to effectively cancel out because it's in the top and the bottom, and it's only possible because it's multiplied by each other. Now, this is added or subtracted, you couldn't do that. But because they're connected through multiplication, you can cross out whatever is common in both top and bottom. 1 over 1 is going to be 1. 2 over 2 is going to be 1. 3 over 3 is going to be 1. So you're effectively just multiplying a bunch of 1s to whatever's left over, which is just your 4. And notice your 4 is in your numerator, not your denominator. So it's going to be technically 4 over 1, which you can always write as just 4. So here we didn't have to do a lot of multiplication. There was actually no multiplication that we had to do here, and we got the same answer of 4. So when you're dividing these factorials, no matter how big they are, you notice they're always going to have some parts in common, and you can make your multiplication or division or both a lot simpler by crossing out everything they have in common in both top and your bottom. But now that we know how to do this, let's tackle one more problem that's going to be a little bit more complicated than this one. Let's say we have an example like this. Now, I know this looks a lot harder than what we just did. Our very simple example to something like this. This is very complicated when you first look at it. However, I assure you, it's going to be much simpler when we think simplification. Now, assuming you don't have a calculator, because none of this really matters. If you have a calculator, you can just throw all this stuff in a calculator. But assuming you don't have a calculator, this is going to be a lot harder to do just on paper. So let's tackle this with simplification in mind. The first thing I want you to do is expand out what you have. So this is going to be 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. That's what 9 factorial is. Now we have 2 factorials on the bottom, so I'm going to separate them with parentheses. This 6 factorial is going to be 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Put that in parentheses. And this 3 factorial is going to be 3 times 2 times 1. Now notice I started with my highest going to 1. You can do it the other way around. It doesn't really matter. But now that we have everything expanded, you could just multiply everything across, but that is going to be a lot of work to do by hand. Simple. We want things to be simple. Well, what are the first things you may have noticed now that we expand everything out? Well, you have a lot of repeats, and your biggest repeat is going to be this part here, your 6 factorial. Notice, all smaller factorials are going to be part of a bigger factorial. 6 factorial is part of 9 factorial. Everything repeats. So we can essentially cross out everything that's in your 6 factorial, just like we previously did in our last example. However, this doesn't get rid of everything in the bottom right. This 3, 2, and 1 can't get re-canceled out because it's already canceled out. So let's write over what we have without all this stuff that's canceled out. So we have a 9 times 8 times 7 in the top still, and we have a 3 times 2 times 1 in the bottom. Do you have anything else that you can simplify here? Yes, this 3 can go into 9 3 times. So we're going to have a 3 in the numerator and a 1 in the denominator. We've crossed that out by canceling it out with that 9. Anything else? Yes, this 2. This 2 can be canceled out because of that 8. So there's going to be another times 1 in the bottom. And how many times does 2 go into 8? 4 times. So times 4. And we have a times 1, so we can just kind of keep it there. And this times 7 doesn't go anywhere. So now we've simplified this nice looking thing, it's like this crazy looking thing, 9 factorial over 6 factorial times 3 factorial, to simply just 3 times 4 times 7. And if you were to multiply that across, that's just 12 times 7, which is just going to be 84. So you can just say that 84 is your answer. So instead of having to do all this long math, we simplify our math to just simply doing 3 times 4 times 7. That's the trick behind dividing your factorials. Simplification. If you have simplification down, you can pretty much save yourself a ton of writing and a ton of time. But if you're curious, I do recommend doing all of this out. If you want to make sure that your simplification is getting you the correct answer, do it both ways if you have the time. So check over my work. If I missed something, put it in the comment box below. So I hope you were able to follow along with today's examples, and I hope you now know how to divide your factorials. However, if you have any questions about what you saw today, or even your own homework, remember, you can always put it in the comment box below, or visit me on my Facebook page at Tutor Me Sempai and tell me all about it there. If you haven't done so already, remember to leave that like. It really helps the channel by letting YouTube know that you find the video helpful. And if you find the video helpful, so can someone else. So leave a like, hit the notification bell, smash the subscribe button, and share this video with a friend. Well, that's all the time I have for today. I'm really hoping to help with your homework, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week. I'm Courtney, this is your playlist, and this has been another session of Tutor Me Sempai.